Hello and welcome to bonus episode number 148 of the Culips English podcast, the series where we build our fluency, improve our cultural knowledge, grow our vocabulary, and become better and clearer English communicators. If you like those goals, then you're in the right place, and I'm going to do my best to help you achieve them. By the way, my name's Andrew. I'm a Canadian English teacher, but I live abroad in Seoul, South Korea. And here in our bonus episodes, I tell you a story each and every week from my everyday life. And I'm telling you these stories so that you can improve your English with me. We'll do it together. To accompany each and every episode, there's a 100% free transcript plus a vocabulary glossary. And if you're a Culips member, then we'll throw in a comprehension quiz as well, so you can test and see how much you are able to understand from this episode after listening to it. And if you'd like to sign up and become a Culips member, just visit our website, culips.com, for all of the info about the benefits and bonuses you get as a member, and to sign up and become a part of our community. Speaking of our awesome Culips member community, in today's episode, I'm going to talk about something that was requested by one of our members in one of my weekly small group speaking classes. For Culips members, we have 3 weekly speaking classes that you can join 1, 2, or 3 of, and we talk about a recent Culips episode. And also at the end of each class, we have a kind of open session, a Q&A, if you will, where people can leave comments or ask questions, or we just chat and hang out. And one of the members, and I really have to apologize because I can't remember exactly who requested this topic. So please let me know if it was you, and I'll give you a shout out in the next episode because it's totally escaping my mind right now about who it was, so I apologize for that. But one of our members in a recent speaking class asked me if I could give a behind-the-scenes tour of how we produce our content and our lessons here at Culips. And I thought that was a really cool idea because actually there's a ton of work and a ton of effort that we put into creating each and every Culips episode. So I thought I would shed some light on some of the tasks and things that we have to do behind the scenes that maybe you don't see as just a regular Culips listener. So that's what I'm going to do in this episode today, everyone, is walk you through steps A to Z. I have to say Z as a good Canadian, or American pronunciation A to Z, which I do have to admit rhymes and flows a little bit better than A to Z. But anyways, from start to finish of the Culips episode production process. And without any further ado, let's get right into this week's story. So here we go. I hope you enjoy. Let's do it. If you're a regular Culips listener, then you'll know that each and every week we release 2 brand new episodes. One episode is a bonus episode like this, which is just me talking with you and hanging out with you and telling you a story. And then one of the other episodes we could call a regular episode is with me and one of my co-hosts. And I have a whole bunch of great co-hosts here at Culips that help me make awesome English lessons. Cassie from the USA, Suzanne from the USA, Anna from England but lives in Spain, and Indiana from the USA, and also Alina, who's originally from Russia but now lives in Ireland. So I have just a whole host of amazing co-hosts. And don't get confused about the word host there. A whole host means many. So I have many awesome co-hosts that help me here produce some of the regular Culips episodes. And as I mentioned, we release one of those each week. And we have different series. We have our simplified speech series, which is for intermediate level English learners, where the content is a little bit easier, a little bit slower. We have our Chatterbox series, which is for higher intermediate to advanced English learners, where we talk about a more complicated topic, but both simplified speech and Chatterbox are really just like free-flowing conversations. It's almost like you get to listen in to a conversation between good friends. We also have our Real Talk series, which teaches you the English that you need to know for real-world, everyday situations. And we have our catchword series, which is our vocabulary series where we teach you some useful, helpful vocabulary like idioms or phrasal verbs that will improve your English listening and speaking. And so for each of those different series, I have a co-host. Indiana and Cassie are helping me out with simplified speech, real talk, and catchwords. Anna's helping me out with Chatterbox, and Suzanne is kind of everywhere and she'll help me with anything. And Alina helps me with our community side of things and our monthly updates and the monthly challenges. So I got some awesome support here at Culips to help me make really good English lessons. And yeah, we couldn't do it without the team. It really is a team effort. So actually, the life cycle of a Culips episode begins as soon as we finish recording one episode. So as soon as an episode is finished recording, before that recording session is finished and I say goodbye to one of my co-hosts, we always pick a recording date for the next episode. So I guess that's really where things start, is we need to pick a recording date. And as I mentioned just a while ago, my co-hosts are spread throughout the world in different continents and different corners of the world, in different time zones even. I mean, thankfully, Cassie lives here in Korea, where I live, but she's in a different city. And actually right now she's on vacation in the USA. So she's in a different time zone than me right now as well. And so this can sometimes make scheduling a little bit difficult, but I think it's really important here at Culips that we have a variety of different hosts. I love that I have co-hosts that I can talk to that come from different places, have different accents, different life experiences, different cultural backgrounds. And even in the case of Alina, she's an English learner just like you as well. I think that perspective is super, super important to have here at Culips too, is that we have some staff members, some team members who have gone through the difficult process of learning English just like you and can now use English, speak English, and understand English at a super, super high level. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that sometimes picking a recording date can be a little bit of a difficult process, but we get it done. And once we have chosen our recording date and planned our recording session, then we can move on to step 2. So step 2 is planning the episode. And guys, I've been doing Culips for a long time, so I have just an app in my phone where I make notes. Anytime a good episode idea comes into my head, I write it down, and I've got this huge list of episode topics. I'm always adding to it, always revising it. And so honestly, the brainstorming aspect and the episode planning is pretty easy because I can just go to my list and I have so many ideas written down there. Occasionally, members of our Culips community will request a topic, just like this episode today was requested. And often that makes for a really good episode and one that I love to do as well. I love it when people request topics, and yeah, I'm happy to do as many as I can that you guys request. So if you ever have an episode idea, just let me know. Send me a DM through our Discord and I'll be happy to try my best to make it become a reality. And sometimes I also ask co-hosts, and my co-hosts are always brainstorming as well. And they'll say, oh, Andrew, I had this idea. How about we do this for an episode topic? And that's really great as well. So we're never short of ideas. We always have lots of good ideas. And I think, some people have asked me, have you ever worried about running out of ideas here at Culips? And I counter with do you ever run out of things to talk about with your friends? I mean, maybe some people do, but for me, whenever I see my friends, we're always just chatting like crazy. And I think here at Culips as well, we'll always have things to talk about. We're always going through the world and having new experiences, learning new things, seeing new things. New things are happening all around us all the time. And so there's always plenty to talk about. So I'm not really worried about ever running out of ideas. But yeah, the next step anyways is choosing a topic. And then depending on the series, there could be more planning that needs to go into an episode or less planning, depending on the series. For topics like simplified speech, usually we're talking about a kind of daily, everyday topic. And honestly, they don't need too much planning. Usually I brainstorm maybe 5 or 6 rough discussion questions where I think, it could be interesting if we explored the topic in this way or that way, but it doesn't require too much planning. Some of the other series, though, require more research or more work. For example, Catchword, our vocabulary series, we have to research the definitions of the words. We need to make some examples for you. And we could do that on the fly, I suppose, but I think a little bit of prep goes a long way. So we like to research and make some good example sentences so that we can really explain and teach the vocabulary that's the topic of that lesson in a good way. Real talk is similar. It requires a lot of preparation, making good example conversations and dialogues, and coming up with appropriate expressions that you can use in a specific situation. And Chatterbox is case by case. It really depends on the topic at hand. Sometimes it requires quite a bit of research, and sometimes we can do it just freestyling. It really depends. But anyways, the next step there is to prepare the episode, plan the episode, and make sure that everything is good and ready to go. And when I say plan and prepare the episode, it's not like I'm making a script or anything like that. It's just a rough idea about the direction we want to take the lesson in so that it's well structured and you can really learn something, take something away from it. As much as possible, we try to have just natural speaking here on Culips. We don't really script anything at all, except for some of the dialogues that maybe you'll hear in real talk or Catchword. Some of those dialogue examples, we do make a script and read the scripts for them. But everything else is really just off the cuff. We're thinking of it and making it on the spot, and we don't really follow a script at all. Just that rough outline, the plan that we create during the planning stage. So we've got our recording date, we've got our plan. The next step is to actually record the episode. And yeah, because all of my co-hosts are in different spots, we just do it over the internet. Of course, I have my mic and my camera on my side, and they have the same on their side. Now, usually the co-hosts and I, we have a brief chat before we hit the record button, just to go through the outline, to talk about some of the stories that we're going to share. And I always tell my co-hosts, don't tell me the story in advance. You can say, for example, like, you want to talk about this topic, or I'm going to tell a story about this. That's fine, but I like to be surprised, and I want everything to be as natural as possible. All of my reactions, all of the things that I'm saying here at Culips, I want, me to speak naturally, and I want my co-hosts to speak naturally as well, so you guys can learn from real English. So yeah, most of what I hear during a Culips episode, I'm hearing for the first time, or maybe I know my co-host will talk about it, but I don't know the details at all. So I'm hearing the details for the first time. Usually when we record, my co-host and I, we record 2 episodes at a time. And as much as possible, I try to bank many episodes. So at any time, I have between 10 to 20 episodes recorded in advance, just sitting on my hard drive. I think right now, as it stands, I have enough episodes to get us through all the way through the summer and probably into the fall. And that's just because, I like to be organized and have lots of content lined up in advance. And also, you never know, like if you get sick or some recording can't happen one day, you never want to be down to the wire where you just really need to make content in the last moment or make lessons in the last moment. So it's always good to have a queue, and we always have an episode queue. So I usually record once or twice a week with my co-hosts. And like I said, we record 2 episodes each time. So that's between 2 to 4 episodes, regular episodes we make here each and every week. Once the recording session is finished, then it's time to go to the next stage, which is the editing stage. And as you guys can probably understand from the way I've been talking about Culips lessons so far, I try to make sure as much as possible that everything is as natural as possible. So when I say editing, it's not like I'm doing a lot of editing. Most of it is really, really light. We try to clean up the audio so that it sounds as good as possible. And when I say we have an editor on our team as well, Marshall. So the editing duties are divided between me and Marshall. And yeah, we clean up the audio so that the quality is as good as possible. Sometimes, occasionally there's some background noise, like if a loud motorcycle drives by, we'll try to cut that loud motorcycle noise out of the background. Occasionally there will be some weird mouth noises or breathing noises that personally just drive me crazy to listen to when I hear other people include them in their podcast. So I cut those little weird mouth noises that sound disgusting out. And occasionally my hosts and I will talk over each other. Maybe we try to say something at the same time and it comes out really unclear and difficult to decipher and understand. If that happens, then I'll try to clean that up so it's easier for you guys to understand. Laughing, if somebody laughs really loud, which is usually me laughing too loud, sometimes I turn the volume down on the laughing so that you can still hear what the co-host is saying. I don't want to overpower anybody with my laughing. So just things like that. Occasionally, as you guys probably know, I talk a lot and I can go on and on and on. One of my bad habits that I have. So if the episode goes too long, then sometimes we cut some content out. But yeah, that is what is involved at the editing stage. And once the episode has been finished and the audio is good to go, well, then we need to make the study guide for the episode. Each and every regular Culips episode has a study guide that we give to our members. It's a key part of our program here at Culips, and we really believe that following along with each study guide and spending time with it will help improve your English skills faster. So we put a lot of effort into making high quality guides. We really do want to do a good job with our study guides. And so once the audio is edited, then we transcribe the audio. And I know these days, if you look in your podcast app, like if you're listening right now on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts and probably many other podcasts as well, you can see an AI computer generated transcript, but those are pretty good. They're pretty good, but they're not 100% accurate yet. And of course, in our study guides for Culips members, we want to make sure that our transcripts are perfect and super, super accurate. So we human transcribe each and every episode. And I mean, these days, AI tools are getting very good at transcribing. So what we do is we actually use an AI tool to generate the first draft of the transcript. But as I said, they're like 80% accurate. So then me or one of our other team members will go back through the transcript that's AI generated and check and make sure everything is perfect, change the spelling of some words that are incorrect, make sure everything's good, the punctuation is good, the spacing and paragraphing is good, and we clean it up so that it is 100% natural. So each transcript is actually human checked by two different people, by the transcriber and then later on by a proofreader. So you can rest assured that what you see in the transcript here at Culips is totally, totally perfect. Through some of the other apps, I can't guarantee that. There are probably a lot of errors. Whenever I look at it, I kind of go, oh, please use the Culips transcript, not the auto-generated one through some of the apps, because it's not too good yet. But anyways, okay, so we make the transcript, and then next, after the transcript, we need to write the study guide. And we have two study guide writers. Those co-hosts that I mentioned earlier, Indiana and Alina, they are our study guide writers right now, and they go back and forth. So Alina will write one guide, and then Indiana will check that guide after Alina is finished writing it, and then they switch. So then the next episode, Indiana will write the guide, and Alina will check it. So they're our study guide dynamic duo, tag team, and they're going back and forth. writing guides and checking guides and making sure that the information in the study guide is super helpful and designed to help you improve your English with that episode, explaining the key vocabulary, making the quiz, the discussion questions, all of these things, and then checking the transcript, like I mentioned earlier before. So, as you can imagine, this takes a lot of time. Editing the episode, transcribing the episode, writing the study guide, proofreading and checking the study guide. This process can take between 1 to 2 weeks usually. I mean, if we really put the pedal to the floor, put the pedal to the metal, then we could probably do it in a few days, but we don't like to rush things. We like to take our time and make sure everything has been carefully checked and carefully written and is just as good as possible. So essentially, after Indiana or Alina has done the final human check of the study guide and the audio has been checked again, then it's ready for upload. So when everything's ready, we send it over to Yoshi, who is our behind the scenes guy here at Culips. And he's another English learner that we have on our team. He's originally from Japan, but he lives in the USA now. And he's learned English to a really high level as well. And so he's another important part of our team. And he's the dude that does the posting. So he'll post the episode. And then we let everybody know on our Discord server that the episode is ready. And then it's your turn. You go and listen to the episode and study with it. And of course, on our Discord community, we often have some nice discussions about the episode as well. And then I guess I should say that the final step in an episode's life cycle is actually our small group speaking classes. So at the start of this episode, I mentioned that this topic today was actually requested by one of our Culips members in one of our small group speaking classes. And after an episode is released, usually we give it about a month. So you'll have a month to listen to the episode. Then after a month, we have 3 small group speaking classes about that episode. So the idea here, guys, is that you'll listen to the Culips episode, you'll spend some time with it, hopefully listen to it several times, go through the study guide and think about the questions, do the quiz, read the helpful study guide content and examples, all of these things. And then the final step is we should speak about it. Because why are you learning English? Well, most people learn English so that they can communicate with others. And we want to give you an opportunity to do that. So many of our Culips members will gather, we'll hang out, we'll spend some time together, and we'll talk about each and every Culips episode. So that is the final step, really, is having our small group speaking classes about that episode. So there's a lot of time, effort, and thought and planning that goes into releasing each and every Culips episode that we make here. But yeah, that is the system. To answer the question, that is how a Culips episode is made. Of course, the bonus episodes are a little bit different because that's just me and they're a little more casual and I don't really do as much planning. I just make a brief outline about what I'm going to talk about and then I press record on the audio and the camera and I just go. And that's the bonus episode. So for the bonus episodes, we also don't have the study guide, so there's not as much creation in that regard. Of course, we still do have the transcript, and I make the transcript and check the transcript, so it's still human checked, but otherwise, the production process for a bonus episode is a lot quicker. Anyways, I hope that answered the question, and I hope now you have a little more understanding of the behind the scenes process of how an episode is produced and created here at Culips. Now, before I let you go, I do need to share this week's completion code with you. Each and every week, I give you a completion code and you can leave an example sentence with this completion code on our YouTube page, our Instagram page, or on our Discord community. That signals to me and all of the community members out there that you finished this episode and that you completed an English study session with me today. So for this week, we are going to go with the expression behind the scenes. And behind the scenes just means a look at what you don't usually see in a production process. Originally, I think we used this expression to talk about a play or a drama production, maybe like a Broadway musical, something like that, where behind the scenes, you're seeing like what's behind the curtain, all the actors hanging out behind the stage. And, things are a lot different behind the curtain during a stage production than they are in front. There's a lot of planning and organizing that goes on that you can't really see in a situation. And anytime we're talking about that kind of context, we can say this expression, behind the scenes. So I'm looking forward to reading your example sentences. Go, go, go. And let's see what you come up with for behind the scenes. If you have a topic you'd like me to talk about in a future Culips episode, please let me know on our Discord community. The link to join is in the episode description, and it's free for everyone to join. You can just post a message in the topic request channel that we have, or you can send me a DM, and I'm always open to your suggestions. So have a great week of English studying up ahead. Please take care as always, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, bye-bye.